under my blankets, so it's quiet enough to hear me. This is Reimagining Hustle, a podcast for entrepreneurial parents creating a life where business and parenthood live peacefully in the same space. I'm your host, Roxanne Market, a mom of two, micro-business coach, and serial entrepreneur on a journey to prove that it really is possible to do what you love without sacrificing all of your precious time. Let's do this. Welcome back to Reimagining Hustle. I am already so excited for my guest today. I have Shakiyah Demelien, aka Shakiyah Sherelle. How are you, Shakiyah?
I'm doing so good. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for bringing me in.
Oh my word. This is extra special for me because I love all of my guests, but military spouses for me are like the icing on the cake, as it were. And we were just chatting, not a pretty cake because I'm not a pretty cook, but you know, it's you know, it is the like best part of the cake. So I'm just like so excited. I'm so excited for you to be here. So can we just dive right in? Will you tell us about you, about the work that you do and your journey to get there?
Yes, of course. So I am Shakiyah Demelien, like you said, but I am also AKA Coach Shakiyah Sherelle, right? So I kind of wear many hats these days. So not only am I a licensed professional counselor associate here in South Carolina, but I'm also a certified life coach. And actually, as a life coach, that's kind of where my journey kind of began, right? So just as the podcast is called Reimagining the Hustle, that's kind of how my journey started with a decision, right? So I fell in love with an Army man and I was like, hey, we're moving a lot and we're doing a lot of things. And so I'm going to have to be able to satisfy a part of my life that equals ambition, but also have the personal side that equals love. And so what I did was I started to research. You know, I was already kind of had a sales background. I have a business degree and I have a marketing minor. And so I was doing sales, I was doing the business thing. And I realized that, well, that was just going to keep me in corporate America. And I was just going to keep bouncing around from different jobs. And sometimes that's very hard. And you know that very well as a male spouse. That
I do.
The industry can be, you know, not so nice to us sometimes. And so I said, what do I do with that? And so I really sat with myself. I was being very still. And I said, what am I really trying to accomplish? And I said, you know what? Even with all these sales, even with all the business stuff, I just want to help people. Gosh. And then I was like, you know what? Oh, I just love women. I want to help women. Oh my gosh. I love y'all. Y'all so great. And so that's what I did. You know, I went and got certified as a coach because I thought that was super important for me. And I set up shop. I was like, listen, anybody, everybody, family members, cousins, friends, come over here. Let me coach you because I'm going to get this thing rocking. And so that's how it grew. And so I created the business Intrinsic Growth. And so Intrinsic Growth is all about uncovering and discovering your talents, right? Because I believe that everything that you need is already inside of you. We just got to get it out of there. We got to develop it. We got to, you know, throw some little sprinkles on it, and then we're going to make it work, right? So that's what I did. I set up shop and we moved probably 6 times in between that. And so it became my portable career and I love it. I love it so much to this day. But what I found in between that was, okay, yep, this is great being portable. I'm seeing these beautiful, amazing women, but something was missing with them. And I was like, man, like it's nice to have repeat clientele, right? That's great. Yeah. Thank you for coming back. But what I realized then was that, oh, this is a problem. They're having a problem that at the current expertise that I had, I could not help them. And so I started trying to figure out what was it? And I realized it was mental health. It was mental health. And I said, you know what, either I can, you know, tell this person, refer them out to people that I know or to sites that I know, or am I going to be the girl? Am I going to be her? And guess what I did? I went back to school. And so I did, you know, and I said, you know what, I'm going to be the whole person for some of these people. Because obviously if I'm having this repeat traffic and these individuals are having these problems. Clearly, I need to upgrade my skills. And so that's what I did. I went back to school. I became a licensed counselor. And I was like, there we go. I'm going to help the whole person now, if that's what they need. Right. And so, yeah, that has been my journey. And in between that, I have done quite a few more things. Right. I had 2 babies.
Yes.
My babies, I love them so much. Oh my gosh. They are, when I say balls of energy, it's like, just think of Sonic the Hedgehog, like just bouncing all over your house, like they're just like their mother, full of energy.
I was going to say, if the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, right? Then
I feel bad for my poor little husband. Let me tell you. Because he is the introvert of all introverts, okay? And I think, sometimes he looks at us, I think he thinks he lives in a zoo, because I'm talking up a sun, my son's talking up a storm, my daughter's running around us in circles, and we're all just trying to survive the energy bubble. But so all of that to say that, putting all that together as a therapist, as a coach, as a wife, as a mother, it has definitely been a journey. I will say that much.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh my goodness. So I want to ask, just kind of for point of reference, how old are your kids right now?
So I have a 6-year-old boy, and then I have a 2-year-old girl.
So fun. Okay. So I had no idea you had like a marketing background, because I'm like, all my words samesies, like this is like this is making sense. This is making so much sense. And like your journey as well. I think this is one thing that really gets lost in conversation, is how difficult it is for a military spouse to have a career. I mean, that's just something that and yes, like obviously we know it, right? Like we know what we're getting into, but it's still hard. It's still really hard. And so to hear that, like, this is where you started, right? You said you want to help women, you want to get there. And like, you took that so seriously that you're like, I want to help women, and this is what they need. This is the mental health piece of it as well. That's so, so admirable. So I am just like already mildly obsessed with you and trying to play it cool. Like trying to be super cool about it. So, okay. So Shakiyah, as we are like talking about all these things, right? So you've got the coaching aspect of it. You've got the counseling aspect of it. You've got the like business aspect of it itself, right? Which is a whole different ball game, but you've got to be working on the business as well as in the business, plus the mom time, plus the spouse time, plus the like actually being your own human,
that
when it's convenient, maybe.
Yeah, agreed.
I know. How are you defining success? What does success look like to you?
Yeah, for me, I always give myself grace. I will start with that. I got to put that out there first. 'Cause what I do know, success changes with the seasons of my life. That's what I do know. So when I was a single person, success looked like, enjoying life, making good money, making sure my bills are paid, making sure I'm fulfilling those things. But then when it became 2 people, right? Me and my husband, success meant, building and growing that foundation, making sure that I was still fulfilling myself personally and with the career, which is kind of how like the coaching kind of came about, making sure that ambition, that light that fuels ambition didn't die, essentially. And then when I started adding each baby, it was the same thing. It was like, well, success to me isn't just about me, it's about the family too. And so it had to look like somewhat of a balance. So if my kids are happy, healthy, and well-rounded, then that was success in that area. And then if I felt fulfilled, not overwhelmed and overworked in my career life, then that's what success looked like there too. And so for me, it's not, when I think of success, and I've heard people define success, they only talk about the career side. Well, that's not success. Success is a well-balanced home and a well-balanced career life. It looks like to me.
I'm already like the chills that as you talk about that, it's so it feels like it should be so obvious, right? It should be so obvious to be like, yes, like there are all these different areas of your life. So of course you're
Mhm.
going to look at them all differently, but you're right. Like we do focus so much on the career, like, oh, we'll be successful if we hit, this many dollar month
Yep.
or
Mhm.
this many
Mhm.
clients or whatever it may be. But just to, and to view that as like seasons of life too. I really like that perspective and I appreciate that very much. I
Mhm.
want to ask you a little bit more about the coaching aspect. So you talk about how you help people uncover and discover their talents.
Mhm.
What do you think is maybe the most surprising thing as you've been working with different kinds of people throughout, the many years that you've done this, maybe surprising, or is there, or like even trends that you see, especially with moms?
Mhm. I think that for me, the demographic that I work with, they are already busy.
Ah,
They are already so busy being moms, or they are already so busy just putting things in their lives, that they have put themselves on the back burner and they don't even know what a talent is. They
ooh,
could be an amazing singer. They could have the gift of the gab, and they couldn't see that that was a talent if it was right up in your face. They could see it, and so that's the biggest thing. Like I'll ask them a basic question like, "What is their favorite color?" And they couldn't tell you. They probably could tell you what their kids' favorite colors were.
yeah.
You know,
And like
right?
the
Or
very specific shade of that color.
yeah, yeah. Or they're so they have become so enmeshed in their family lives, or just, and not even just like a wife, husband, that type of life, but even just like their parents or their grandparents or their cousins, or they've become so enmeshed in other people's situations that their situation just no longer exists. And so
Mm.
they just have no idea. Like that's the first thing I'll say, what's your favorite color? Oh, oh, maybe purple. But my son really loves the red dragonfly that's outside of the such and such, so I'll get that a lot. Or
Yeah.
I'll say, well, can you tell me, like, what would you consider a strength? Can you define what a strength is? I'll get that,
Yeah.
and so a lot of times we have become, and not that, it is neglectful in a way, but it's almost so nuanced because you are expected to enmesh yourself into your family, into those type of things. Or if you don't have a family, you are also expected to give all of yourself to this job, all of
Mm.
yourself to this career, to the point of, again, what is your career? Oh, I am an accountant or an analyst, or I am this. Oh, okay, that's great, but who are you outside of those things? And they couldn't
Yes.
tell you. They still couldn't tell you because they've,
Mm.
again, put themselves back there.
It's so interesting that that was the piece of it that you bring up. One of my favorite questions, because we move a lot too, one of my favorite questions to ask new people, especially new moms, is if
Mhm.
you had a day to yourself, what would you do? And this question has been revised over the many years. So now I say, if you had a day to yourself, the
Mhm.
house was clean, the
Yep.
laundry was done, everybody was entertained, you were caught
Yep.
up on like everything that you feel behind on, then what would you do? And it's that stupor, right? It's that
Mhm.
absolute stupor.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
for people listening who find themselves in that kind of enmeshed in everybody else's lives, they don't
Mhm.
even like, they can't even, I don't know if you've seen the movie
Mhm.
Runaway Bride. They don't even know what kind
Yep.
of eggs they like, right?
Like, oh, I do love
Right?
her. Mhm.
Um,
Yes. Mhm.
I mean, obviously like working with you is like brilliant,
Mhm.
but if they can't get there yet, is there like
Mhm.
one tip that you could give them right off the bat that's like, stop everything you're doing and do this one thing?
That is literally what I was about to say.
Oh, good.
I was about to say, be still.
Oh, tell us
Be
more about that.
still. Yeah. And so this is the first thing it's called a cleansing, is what I call it when I first start working with my clients. Their first activity literally is to be still for 30 minutes and see
Mm.
how long it takes them before they start to break out of it, start to itch, try to pick up their phone, try to turn on the TV, try to catch, find their kids, try to figure out what else is going on. And I
Yeah.
asked them to mark that time. So if it only took 5 minutes for that to happen, we know how much work we need to do. And so
Uh,
that's literally the first thing I asked them to do. I said, you just need to be still and
mhm,
tell me what your thoughts are in that moment of stillness.
mhm,
Tell me, who are you thinking about in that moment of stillness? Tell me what negative thoughts pop up in that moment of stillness. And this
mhm.
will help me tell me what direction we need to go in your life. So be still.
I
First thing
the
you need to do is be still.
the physical reaction that I had when you said that, like look for like the time, I was like, pushing my phone away.
Right.
I'm that, what an interesting, so after we record this, I definitely am going to try that exercise as well. I love that exercise just to kind of check in with yourself. What a great exercise. Okay. So in the middle of all of these things that you're doing, which is like, you do wear many hats, you also wrote a book, and I need you to tell us about the book.
Right. I know. Right. So then I like added author to it. Right.
Like, why not?
No, agree. So author Shakiyah is the part of her that is trying to make sure her children are okay. That's me. So that is, it's actually quite emotional for me, because that's how I feel about the book.
I saw the change in your face, and I have the luxury of seeing you, right? We're recording for an audio podcast, but I watched your whole body language change, and I'm going to try to describe it to people listening, but like, I watched you go from this really like, we're going to fix the things going on, really strong and powerful. Like, we're here to get it done, to this almost nurturing state. Like, you're going to bring me in for a big hug. That's how it felt. Right. So I cannot wait to hear about this.
So, as a military spouse, we just talked about, the constant moves, but I didn't even talk about the multiple deployments that we've also experienced. And so I already know, we've been through, just before the kids were born, I was 3 deployments before they were born.
Oh my word. And your Army, so these are long deployments.
They are. So the first one was a year, the second was 6 months, the next one was 9 months. And so, and then they took away R&R. So, you don't get that 2 weeks in the middle of your deployments anymore. And so that definitely puts a damper on things. But, so even before the kids came along, I knew how hard it was for me to stay present with myself, to be mindful with my time, to not allow loneliness and sadness to seep in, because I miss my person. And so then my son was the first to experience a deployment. It was a 9-month deployment. And he was very young, but I saw how it affected him. And at the same time, I had several friends who kids are the exact same age as mine. Their person deployed too. And so we all would have these experiences of like, hey, such and such heard, sometimes when you open a door in one part of the house, another door might close.
Yes.
Okay, guys, it's not a ghost, just by the way. That's just
right. It's like the airflow of the house, one door and the other one slams. Yeah.
Right. And so that would happen in our townhouse that we lived in at the time, all the time, because those houses are like shotguns.
Yeah.
And so my son would go, Daddy, and he would look around corners and search for him and look at me like, oh, is that here? Or like, what are we doing? And so we would have FaceTimes and all this stuff. And all my friends were so sad, and they were feeling the same kind of things with their kids. And that kept happening. And I just was like, you know what? I feel like I need something to help those around me, but also help my son. Right. Yeah. And so I sat down one day, and I'm a dreamer, and I had this dream, and it came to me, and it was like, you're going to write this book. It's called, the character is called JoJo. And I swear I woke up the next morning and I wrote a book.
Oh my word. Word. It was there.
It was there. All the words fell out. Did it have some revisions over time? Of course, because you sit with it. The writing process is definitely kind of foreign to me. We've always been a book reading family. It's part of our structure. It's part of our lifestyle. It's part of our culture. Bedtime, read a book. Like, my son loves it. It's our favorite time. Yeah. And so I went from the reader side to the author side, and it has been amazing. But the book is about a little boy named JoJo. It's from his perspective. He is telling us about his family of heroes, because that is how I had to explain it to my son. How do I explain why dad is away? How do we have that conversation, but keep it in a kid-friendly, type of thing, and so he says, my dad's a hero. My mother is also a hero, because she's holding down the home front. Right. Everybody is involved. And so he goes on the journey. He tells us about, when he's sad, when he's upset, when he's confused. And the mother in the book, she models the perfect behavior of, one, not lying to your children. Yeah. Right. and being very honest with them about what they're experiencing, allowing them to actually have the emotion and not stamp it out of them.
Mhm.
Super important, and especially for little boys. We tell them not to cry. We tell them, that is very, very common in our culture. But this in the book, you can see he says like, hey, I must have gotten taken home from the hospital to the wrong family. That's how angry he is in the
Yeah.
book. He's like, I want to go to a regular family. He's so upset in the book, but she allows him to have that. She lets him feel it. And then she reminds him of how amazing he is. And so that comes from just my philosophy as a parent too. I said, every day I want to try to tell my kids that I love them every
Yeah.
day. Every single day. Every day I make sure I touch my children. I make sure that's a
Mhm.
fist bump, a hug, a pat on the head, whatever it is. And then every day I make sure I encourage and affirm my children. Hey, you're doing a great job today. Hey, I really like how you read that book today. You did a really good job on the second half. Those are my tenets of parenthood. And so I wanted to make sure that was experienced in the book. And I also wanted to make sure the book portrayed a whole family. Whenever I see Army families, sometimes they don't always look like us. They don't always look like me.
Yeah.
And so the entire Brown family on the cover, there's an entire Brown family throughout the book. And I thought that was just super important. And it just, my son, he absolutely loves it, wants to read it all the time.
Oh.
He told the teacher at school, he brought a book to school. And it has been an amazing journey. And every time somebody mentions the book, I literally like almost melt, like every single time.
Yeah.
It makes me so excited.
Oh my word. I'm feeling so much over that. Every children's book should be written by somebody with your background, right? Like somebody who's coming from a really place of like mental wellness and mental health, and also safety and strength for your kids. So what an amazing gift to your kids and to every other military child in existence. I'm very anxious to go order my copy for my kids.
I'm sorry. And the book is called We Are a Family of Heroes. I'm sorry.
Yes. No, I was going to plug it here, but
Okay.
We'll make sure we get it there at the end. So yes, We Are a Family of Heroes.
Yes, and it's available on Amazon if you're looking for it, on my website. But I please go out, and I always remind people too, like, it may be validation and understanding for military families, but it's education for non-military families, so that you can learn, because military kids go to regular schools. They don't just go on base. We're embedded in the community. I think people forget that part.
It's so true.
This will help your kid's friend. This will help your kid become a better friend to their military, friends. And
teaching all those skills and just and those wonderful behaviors as well. Oh, you're amazing. Everything you're doing is amazing. And I'm already your biggest fan. So I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about parenting through all of this. So I want to know how being a parent during all of this has changed you as a person. So obviously it's changed your career trajectory a little bit. You became the author because of this, but how about you as Shakiyah?
Yeah, me as Shakiyah, the parent?
As the person.
Oh, as the person. Yeah.
Like how has it changed you?
I think for me, it changed me in a way of being just super intentional about fulfilling those aspects of my life.
Yeah.
Right. And so, Shakiyah, the mom, does these certain type of things, but Shakiyah is making sure she's fulfilling the things that she enjoys. I think that's the big thing. And so we go to so many different places that the first thing that I'm doing is figuring out what's the event that's happening on Thursday, because I'm going to be,
yes.
I'm making sure that I'm fulfilling that part of myself and not allowing that to be dormant. I don't want to be the person that says, Shakiyah, what's your favorite color? And I say, right. I want to be, what's your favorite color? And I say teal. I want to stay in that space, because then I am present with myself. And I have gotten to a point when, my daughter was a newborn and I had a 5-year-old, and I was doing, I started losing her because I couldn't go anywhere. I had a C-section, and, I was kind of stuck a little bit. The pandemic was raging. And there was a time in there where she started to fade, and it terrified me a little bit. And I was just like, you know what? I have to learn how to love me, whether that means the door has to be locked or not. I have to learn how to figure out how to do that. And so I think how it changed me is just really learning how to be intentional with my self-care and my self-love.
Mm. I love that you just separated those two as well, self-care and self-love, because I feel like so often they get kind of smashed together, but they really are two separate skills.
Agreed.
Yeah.
100%.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do you ever experience guilt around
Oh, yeah.
your business and being a parent?
Oh my gosh. Let me tell you something. You know what's funny? It's funny. You said something earlier. You said, well, I asked somebody, when I ask my clients, I say, what's your perfect day when this is clean? And that's clean. I was gonna say I would add, and there's no guilt. There is no moment of guilt. Yeah, add that to the list.
Yes.
Yeah.
Done. That's being added. Oh, okay. So you come with a really unique education and experience behind you. So how do you deal with the guilt for yourself? And follow-up question to that, how do you tell your clients to deal with it?
Ooh, yeah. So, for me, originally there was a lot of guilt when I had my first kid. Obviously, that's probably the strongest level of guilt that you'll have, right?
Yeah.
But I had to do some of that work of saying, if I am away, have I done everything I can to make sure my child is safe? Yes, I have. Right? There is food in the refrigerator. There's safety locks on things. Do I trust my husband? Yes, of course. I married that man.
Right.
So he's not gonna let them die.
Yeah.
They're gonna be okay. And so I had to remind myself that my kids, and this is just for married people right now, because that's who I am.
Right. And that's who this podcast targets, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so there's two parents. I cannot make myself the sole parent, and then he's like the co-producer over here, or something of the sort. I have to make sure that we are doing all the equal tasks. And so for me, the guilt was alleviated when I said, I have done all the things that I can do. I have to trust and lean on my partner to make sure that, that I feel good. But sometimes when I do allow the guilt to seep in, it just simply means that I'm only going to let it happen for a little while. And I'm going to give myself grace when it does happen. I'm not going to beat myself up, but it is always there, because you want to make sure that your kids are happy and are okay. And my kids, oh my goodness, let me tell you something. They make me feel like I am like, I don't know, the Beyonce or something, because when I come through the door, they're like, oh, mama, oh, I missed you so much. And so then when I do leave, I'm like, oh, so sad. I'm like, because you want that adulation, it's so awesome. But yes, I had experienced that guilt. But yes, I have to remind myself to lean on my partner, trust that he and I are a team, and do all the things that I'm supposed to have done before I left. Yes.
Oh, yeah. I love
but for others,
I like that you keep using this word grace. I have on, and if you've listened to the podcast before, I have a pair of Converse shoes that on the back, one of them says space and one of them says grace, because those are the things that I'm like, for me, it's space and grace and space and grace. So tell me then, how do you talk to your clients about guilt? Like, how is that? What comes up for them? And do you offer them the same advice that you're giving to yourself?
Yeah, for the most part, I do. I do ask them, I said, hey, listen, I gauge first, how strong is the guilt? First is the first thing that I do. Right. And so, and the things that I ask, I say, hey, when was the last time you operated in self-care? What does that look like for you? When's the last time you did something for yourself? And I do not accept the answers of got my hair done, got my nails done, and nope, hair and nails. I don't accept those. No, just hair and nails. Oh, okay. Yeah. That's those two. Got my hair done, got my nails done. I don't accept those, because to me, for women, sometimes that's maintenance. That's not actually self-care.
Ooh, okay. That's a good distinction.
So I asked them, and then I said, okay, well, what else have you done? What is something that you were interested in before that you don't do anymore? And so we just go through a series of questions so I can see how strong that guilt is, right? And so if it's kind of just, if it's pretty mild, I'll say, I'll make a challenge and I'll say, okay, I want you to go out and do this. I want you to take your journal, and every time you start thinking about your kid, I want you to do a tally mark. Okay. And I say, and then if you go out with friends, I want you to tell me how many times you redirected the conversation back about your kids.
Ooh, okay. Okay.
And so they put tally marks, right? And they go through it and they go through it. And so then they meet with me again. I'll say, okay, now we know how strong your guilt is, right? And so then I tell them again, I said, hey, now we can also see where you're trying to overly control things, because you need to lean on your partner if you have a partner. If you are afraid to leave your children along with your partner and he's a great guy, then the problem is with you. Right. You know what I mean? And so I'll say, okay, well, is he going to feed him? Yep. All right. He's going to get feed them. Are they going to take naps on time? Nope. They're fine. They'll go to sleep tonight. You know, it's not your problem. Lean on your partner. Leave. And and I tell them, I say, you know, if it's really strong and it makes you feel any better, write out some directions, but don't talk about them. Leave them on the table and remove yourself. That's it. Leave them on the table and remove yourself. You said what you had to say. So if it felt better for you to pack lunches for the rest of the day, then do that. Put them in the fridge, write your little note, tell them you're out, and then walk out the door. I was like, but it's not for you to control the environment when you are gone. You have to let go. And I tell them that all the time. Is it hard? Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Super hard, but you have, so when it's all happening that way and that guilt is like that, you have to just remind yourself that I have to build a life in which that my kids too are able to develop their own coping skills. So if you are always there 24/7, every 5 minutes, picking up this stuff behind them, you know, making sure they're not doing certain things, you are then trying to overly control the environment. Your kids will not create the coping skills in which they need. Remind yourself of that, because we already know the fact that you have mommy guilt means that you're a good parent. We already know that. So the other side about being a good parent is making sure your kids are well-rounded. So that means sometimes mommy has to remove herself. Sometimes.
This is like the most important information ever. Like I'm like, this is it, right? This is why I'm doing the podcast. But I'm so fascinated by the idea of measuring your guilt. This is something I had never even considered of, like, how do you measure it, right? Like, of course we feel guilt, but how guilty do you feel? And to actually create tally marks and to actually pay attention to that is such a unique take on that. And I'm so glad that you shared that with me. So thank you for that. Thank you so much for that, because that is such like I said, such a unique take that really, it almost takes the emotion out of it as you're trying to deal with it. So thank you for that. And for that wisdom as well. Wow. My goodness, you're just like dropping microphone after microphone after microphone here. Right. I know. It's like, I feel like we're playing like Super Mario and it's like, bing, bing, bing. I have all the gems. My goodness. Oh, Shakiyah. This is fun. I knew this was going to be fun. This is even more fun than I thought it was going to be. So right, having a blast. What do you wish people knew about parenting and entrepreneurship at the same time?
Oh my gosh. If I say grace one more time, I don't even know. Listen, it's great.
Are we going to title the podcast episode this? Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's going to be Grace with Shakiyah. Thank you very much for coming to your TED Talk. Like that's
a TED Talk. That's hilarious. But yeah, for real, it seriously is grace. Yes, structure is important. Being intentional about your time is important. Celebrating the small victories, of course, is important. Yeah. But guess what? Sometimes kids get COVID. Sometimes they get pneumonia. Sometimes they are just sick. Hell, sometimes you are sick. Yeah. You know? And in those moments, everything falls to pieces. And sometimes our spouses are deployed. Sometimes they are on temporary duty stations. And you do become a solo parent. I would never say single, because I will give them all their credit, but you will become a solo parent. And in those moments when things just fall to crap, you know what? Do not apologize for it, because that is life and that you are a parent, and it is important to you. And then just give yourself grace. They don't stay sick forever, you know, I mean, for the most part, you know, right, has allergies year round. But, you know, so, you know, just give yourself grace, allow it to fall apart, reschedule those meetings, reschedule those sessions, do what you have to do, recruit help. Oh my gosh, ask for help. And I know that military spouses have a hard time doing this, because we're always in cities in which we know anybody, right? We don't know anybody, we don't know what's going on. But you know what? If you got to give them the $10 an hour to, come watch a sick kid while you finish this project, do what you have to do, but give yourself grace in the whole process. Sometimes it will just fall apart. It will just fall on the ground and break and roll over and fall to the ground. You know, it'll do that.
Yeah.
All in all, yeah, just, you know, just give yourself grace. That's what I say.
That's so, It reminds me of actually a TikTok video I saw the other day. And the guy, I don't know how true any of this is, right? It's the internet, who knows? But, but he said, you know, animals are born with the instincts that they need to survive. So a giraffe is born with the ability to run right off the bat. A snake is born with the ability to bite right off the bat. And as human beings, we are born with the ability to ask for help right off the bat. That is our most important basic instinct, is to ask for help. That's what, I mean, that babies cry to ask for help, right? And so it really struck me. And I was like, I don't actually care if that's true or not, because the message is profound enough to me that it hit me, right? I know, right?
Yeah.
And so that's totally, as you're describing, like, ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. I'm going to just piggyback on that and remind all of our listeners here that this is one of your most important survival skills. It is the thing that you are born with the ability to do. So lean on that. Don't shy away from that most important survival skill.
Wow.
I know, I really loved it. So
I want to see that TikTok now.
I'll find it. I'll send it to you.
That's awesome. That is very true. Huh.
Yeah. So Shakiyah, I want to ask you a question about the name of this podcast. So when I first started my business, I also was not a parent, and I loved the idea of hustle, right? It felt good to me. It felt, it felt important to me, and I loved it. I was very much the hustle, 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 go, 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 do everything, be everything, work hard, play hard if there's time, right? And then I had my first child and my whole world stopped. And I realized that the life I was living was not sustainable. And I was going to have to reimagine the idea of hustle. So I feel like you have given us a pretty good idea of how you do it, but I would love to know, kind of in your own words, what does reimagined hustle look like to you?
Yeah. And so I think it goes back to those seasons in life. And so I have had to reimagine it over and over and over. And so I think I actually did it again recently, right? Because when I had my second child, I had to make room, right? I had to make room for those kids. And I have a girl and I have a boy. And while at this age, there is not a whole lot of differences, I still want to make sure they feel like individuals. And I still want to make sure that they are getting equal time of their mother and of their father. And so for me, it means being even more intentional about the trajectory of my business. So sometimes I will not take on certain level of clientele. And somebody else, and I remember somebody told me, like, why would you do that? That's like more money. And I was like, yeah, but remember, my definition of success is to have a balanced life in my home life and have a balanced life in my career life. And so I'm not going to inundate my home life by trying to, grow so exponential to the point that my family suffers, because that's not what success to me. And so for me to reimagine it is, again, to make sure that both sides are pretty well balanced, or it doesn't feel worth it for me, or that guilt seeps in. And then now I feel guilty for not spending the appropriate time with my children. And so reimagining hustle is just that, making sure my definition of success is still the same, having that balance within my home life and still having that balance within my career.
That's beautiful. Thank you for that. Yes. Again, I'm running out of microphones for you to drop. Thank you for that. Oh my word. Shakiyah, this has been so much fun. And I feel like I could talk to you for like days on end. I'm like, fingers crossed, like hopefully we get stationed at the same base sometime so that we can be even more friends. But in the meantime, will you give us a pep talk for other moms who are on this journey of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, of course. The first thing I would say is, girl, you got it. You got this. You are raising those babies. You are juggling your love life, and you are making sure your career is breathing. It is beautiful and it is growing. You got this. Take it one step at a time. Don't pile too many things on your plate. Be intentional about your self-care. Remind yourself that you are loved. Reach out for help, but ultimately, you got this. That would be my pick.
I'm like, this is really bonus for me because as we're recording really early in my morning. And so I just get to start my day with a pep talk from Shakiyah. So thank you for that for me personally, very selfishly. Oh my word. Okay, Shakiyah, we need more from you. So I know we've talked about it a little bit, but will you just hit us with all the places? Where can we find you online? We need more of you.
Okay. yes. So you can find me at intrinsicgrowth.com. I'm sure you'll be able to see the spelling in the show notes.
Yes.
You can find me on Facebook at Life Coach Shakiyah Sherrill. And you can find me on Instagram at Intrinsic Growth. And if you are looking for the book, you can also find it on Facebook at JoJo Hero Adventures.
Awesome. And we will make sure that we link everything in the show notes. Shakiyah, this has been, like I said, I'm going to just call you every morning and just start my day with you every morning. I wish I would actually do that to you, but this has been an absolute treat for me. Thank you for just the gift of you, the gift of your wisdom, of your experience, of just you in general. Thank you for the gift of your time as well this morning. This has been a blast. So thank you so much.
I appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for listening to Reimagining Hustle with Roxanne Merkett. If you like the show and want more, check out reimagininghustle.com and please leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back next week with another episode. See you soon.